I moved to Spain 20 years ago. In that time, I've watched hundreds of British people make the exact same move. Some have absolutely loved it, some have left within the first 2 years. So in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you actually need to know before you retire to Spain from the UK. The visa, the money, healthcare, bureaucracy, and the things that many people only find out about once they've actually made the move. Now, as I say, I've been here 20 years, 21 years to be precise. I've bought houses here. I've dealt with the Spanish bureaucracy and I've seen this life from every angle. So let's get into it. Okay, first things first. Can British people still retire to Spain after Brexit? Well, yes, absolutely yes. But the rules have changed and you need to understand what this means for you. Now, without formal residency, British citizens can now only spend 90 days out of every 180 days in Spain as a tourist. That's the 90-day rule. If you want to actually live here, you need to apply for residency. And the main route for retirees is called the Non-Lucrative Visa, the NLV, or the Non-Working Visa. They're both exactly the same and they're normally referred to one of these two ways. Now, despite the name, this visa is actually designed for people exactly in your situation. It's for people who can support themselves financially without needing to work in Spain. So retirees, people with a pension income, savings, investments, or maybe a passive income. This is your visa. Now, there's actually 10 documents that you need to apply for the NLV. I'll put the full checklist in the description below this video. But the two things that catch people out the most are the financial requirement and the apostille. So let's talk about both. Now, an apostille is basically an official certification that makes a UK document legally recognised in Spain. Your criminal record check, medical certificate, marriage certificate, everything needs to be apostilled. Don't overlook this or your application will be rejected. Now the big question, how much money do you actually need? Let me give you the exact figures. Now, Spain uses something called the IPREM. It's a government income index used to calculate all sorts of financial requirements. In 2026, the IPREM is set at €7,200 per year. The non-lucrative visa requires you to show 400% of that amount, which works out at €28,800 per year for the main applicant. Then you add €7,200 for each additional family member. So let me put a graph up on the screen so you can see it much more clearly. Now, single applicant, as you can see here, as I just mentioned, is €28,800 requirement per year. For a couple, 36,000, a couple and one child, 43,200, and a couple with two children, €50,400. IPREM is basically €600 a month. That's your 7,200 a year that I mentioned. And this has been frozen at this level since 2023. One of the biggest pieces of single advice I can give is don't just show the exact minimum. Consulates like to see that you've got a comfortable cushion above the minimum. So as an example, if you're a single applicant, aim to show 30 to 35,000 euros rather than that exact 28,800 euros because it strengthens your application. Now, here's the thing that catches a lot of people out at renewal time. The initial visa is for 1 year, right? But the first renewal is for 2 years. So when you renew, you need to show roughly double the financial resources. So what's that? Around 57,600 euros for a single applicant for that 2-year period. The good news is, though, after the first renewal, you'll get a 2-year permit, then another 2-year permit. And after 5 years of legal residence, you can apply for permanent residence. And that means no more non-lucrative visa renewals at all. Okay, so again, let's put another graph up on the screen just so you can see how this breaks down. So the first year, you arrive in Spain, you apply for your TIE card, which is effectively your identification card, and you need to do that within 30 days. And then you simply live in Spain without working. At the end of year 1, you apply for your first renewal within Spain. You'll do that at your local immigration office, not at a UK consulate. And as we said, you'll need to show double the financial resources. Years 2 and 3, you just continue living in Spain. Nothing is needed. And then for years 4 and 5, you renew for another 2 years. And then after that 5-year period, as I just said, you can apply for your permanent residency with no more visa renewals. One thing I've learned since moving to Spain is that we travel a lot more than we used to, whether it's a quick trip back to the UK to see friends and family, a trip to the US or anywhere else in the world. Staying connected is 100% essential. I've been using Saily, which is an eSIM service that lets you get mobile data in over 200 destinations without the need to mess around with a physical SIM card. And it also does away with those very expensive roaming charges. You simply install it on your phone before you travel and you're connected the moment you arrive, all for the price of a coffee. If you'd like to try it yourself, you can use my code by going to saily.com/second chapter and entering the code second chapter for 15% off. I'll put the link in the description below. Now I want to talk about healthcare because I think this is probably the thing that worries people most. So let me give you the honest picture. If you're receiving a UK state pension, there's something called the S1 form that almost nobody tells you about. Go to gov.uk, search for the S1 form and apply before you move. This document basically entitles you to Spanish public healthcare and it's funded by the UK government. What's also good is it can satisfy the health insurance requirement for your visa application, and it's genuinely one of the most useful things that a British retiree in Spain can do. Now, if you're not yet receiving your state pension, you'll need private health insurance, and this is a hard requirement for your visa application. It must be full health coverage, not just simple travel insurance. Now, the good news is that private healthcare in Spain is excellent and it's also significantly cheaper than the equivalent cover in the UK. Now, I can actually vouch for the healthcare system in Spain. I found it nothing short of excellent. Now, back in 2018, I was seriously ill and I had private health insurance with AXA, which is a UK-based company, but I went into a private hospital here in Spain and I honestly have to say that the treatment and the care that I received was second to none. Okay, now let's talk about the Spanish bureaucracy, and I'm going to be straight with you. It will definitely test your patience. There's going to be moments when you feel like you're just going round in circles. But the good news is thousands of British people navigate it every single year, so you can also. Now, there's 3 things that you need to know first. The first is your NIE. This is basically your Spanish tax identification number, and you're going to need this before you can do pretty much anything in Spain. Before you can open a bank account, buy a car, buy a property. All of these things require the NIE. Now, the good news is this is something that you can actually apply for through the Spanish consulate in the UK before you move. So get that done early. Secondly is the empadronamiento or the padron. Now, once you're living in Spain, you register on the local census at your town hall. And basically what that does is it proves you live where you say you live. And you're also going to need this padron for your residency application and your TIE card as well. Now, when you go to register at the padron, make sure you take your passport and your proof of address to the local ayuntamiento to get that padron registration done. And then thirdly, and my second big piece of advice is for anyone that's looking to retire to Spain is to get a gestor. Now, a gestor is basically a licensed administrative professional who handles all the Spanish bureaucracy on your behalf. I think that's probably the best way to put it. And what a gestor does is they know the systems, they know the paperwork, they know which office to go to, and the cost is absolutely worth it. I genuinely don't know anyone or how anyone can navigate the Spanish residence applications, particularly if they don't speak a word of Spanish. So I would say this is of extreme importance to find yourself a good gestor. Now, before I finish, another thing that I suppose you've probably already considered, but if you haven't, that is the language barrier, because it's genuinely bigger than you may think. So any spare time that you've got prior to your move, spend it using Spanish because it genuinely will help you so much. Then, of course, as we've already spoke about, the Spanish bureaucracy, it's going to test you at a level that's genuinely hard to prepare for. Budget time, patience and money for it. And then, of course, your social life. That's not going to build itself. So the first year, it can be maybe a little bit lonely. So be proactive. Say yes to everything and give it time. But here's what I can tell you after more than 20 years here in Spain. The quality of life is extraordinary. The weather, the food, the pace of life, the outdoor living, it genuinely improves your daily existence in ways that are pretty hard to put into words. Your money certainly goes further. The Spanish are incredibly warm and welcoming once you make the effort to meet them on their terms. So should you retire to Spain from the UK? Well, my honest answer after more than 20 years is if you come here with realistic expectations and you're willing to put in the work to make it happen, then yes, absolutely yes. If I had to make the same decision, if I went back 20 years ago, would I still make it? Yes, without a moment's hesitation. Okay, I'm going to wrap this video up, but if you've enjoyed today's video or you found it helpful, please remember to give it a like. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free to do. It doesn't cost a penny, but it really helps this channel to continue to grow. Anyway, enjoy whatever you're doing for the rest of the day, and I'll catch you in the next one.